Before we begin, if you'd like to watch this video in your preferred language, just turn on the subtitles and select your language in the settings. I hope that helps you enjoy the video more. Under a heavily raining sky at the Liu family residence, the bodies of the Liu clan lay scattered across the soaked ground. Blood mixed with rainwater forming dark streams that ran between the stones. Amid the devastation, Chen, known as an evil cultivator, and once hailed as the child of destiny, clashed swords with Xu Tian. Lightning coiled around their blades as steel met steel, each strike sending sparks into the storm. Chen demanded to know why Xu Tian sought to exterminate his family when there had been no hatred or grievance between them. His voice carried both fury and disbelief as he poured his strength into his weapon and forced his opponent back. Xu Tian held his sword with one hand, calmly blocking the assault. In his other palm, spiritual energy gathered into a glowing sphere. He declared that Chen, as the former child of destiny, was merely a stepping stone for his own rise, and added that Chen should feel honored to serve that purpose. With that, Chen launched his attack. Chen raised his arm and managed to block the blow, though the impact shook him. Xu Tian's expression shifted to surprise before curling into a smirk as he realized that Chen possessed the tyrant demon physique. That discovery confirmed his belief that Chen truly walked the path of an evil cultivator. Frustration burned across Chen's face as he shouted that he had endured enough nonsense and that he would cut down his enemies in blood for the sake of his family. Just as he began to gain the upper hand, Xu Tian called out sharply. In the next instant, numerous subordinates appeared, surrounding the battlefield. Chen's eyes widened at the sight. Xu Tian coldly pronounced that the evil cultivator was as good as dead. Chains shot through the rain and wrapped around Chen's body, restraining his movements. His sword slipped from his grasp and clattered onto the stones. He accused Xu Tian of hypocrisy, pointing out that a so-called righteous cultivator had resorted to a sneak attack. In response, Xu Tian drove his sword straight through Chen's chest. The blade pierced cleanly through him. With a cruel smile, Xu Tian stated that Chen's cultivation and his tyrant demon physique would now belong to him. With Chen as nourishment, he claimed he was only one step away from ascending to the upper realm. Chen dropped to his knees, blood pouring from the wound. Moments later, he collapsed face first onto the rain-soaked ground. Xu Tian and his followers stood over him, laughing, before turning and walking away. Through blurred vision, Chen watched them leave. Even as death closed in, he swore inwardly that he would never let Xu Tian go, even if it meant defying death itself. As his body lay motionless, a blood Valkyrie appeared above him, floating silently. With Chen defeated, Xu Tian had now claimed the title of Child of Destiny. The Valkyrie considered whether Chen truly desired revenge against this new chosen one, and found the prospect intriguing. Suddenly, a translucent system window manifested, announcing that the heavenly profound revenge system had successfully bound to host Chen and designated a revenge target. Chen's lifeless body began to float as the Valkyrie decided to lend him her aid. Far away at the Ascension platform, Xu Tian prepared to rise to the upper realm. Bathed in a brilliant yellow light, he laughed with joy, believing he had finally achieved his ambition. The heavenly gates opened, rosy light guiding his ascent as he rose skyward. The crowd gathered below called out that once Xu Tian became an immortal, he must bless them. They cheered that hero Xu was ascending to the immortal realm and described the moment as joyful and truly wonderful. 3 beautiful young women stood among them, offering their congratulations. Later, in a quiet chamber, Liu Ruyan bathed in steaming water. She suddenly sensed someone outside the room. Before she could react, a man broke through the wooden wall. Startled, she leapt from the tub and covered herself with a white cloth, demanding to know who had intruded. Chen stood before her with a faint smile and calmly declared that he was her future master. Shock spread across Liu Ruyan's face as she recognized him. She stammered that he was Chen and that he was supposed to be dead. In an instant, Chen seized her by the throat and lifted her into the air. He remarked that with so many stunning beauties surrounding Xu Tian, he could hardly bear to die. Then he threw her to the ground. Coughing, Liu Ruyan told him that Xu Tian had already ascended to the upper realm. She added that if Chen wished to kill her to vent his anger, he should simply do so. Chen questioned why he would kill her and stated that he had come to save her. Confusion filled Liu Ruyan's eyes as she wondered what he meant. Chen began forming something in his palm. A delicate flower materialized in his hand. He revealed that Xu Tian had been lying to her all along. Liu Ruyan stared at the flower in shock, recognizing it as a desire sin flower and wondering how he possessed such a thing. Another system window appeared, indicating that the host was currently subverting Liu Ruyan and displaying the progress of subversion. A second window stated that once Chen successfully subverted everyone close to Xu Tian, he would be able to ascend to the upper realm and take his revenge. A third notification declared that killing the Child of Destiny, Xu Tian, would grant him a supreme reward. With the glowing interfaces fading before him, Chen stepped toward Liu Ruyan and calmly announced that they should begin. Chen tightened his grip around Liu Ruyan's neck and pushed her back against the wall. His expression hardened as he warned her not to begin acting as though she would rather die than submit. At that moment, a black cat wandered into the room. Both of them instinctively turned to look at it. A faint, unsettling smile appeared on Lu Chen's face. He reached out and brushed his fingers across Lu Ruyan's cheek, telling her that she would obey him and become his personal maid. Leaning closer, he added that she would follow him like an obedient little cat. With sudden force, Lu Ryan broke free from his grip. She straightened herself and declared that her name was Lu Ryan and that in this life she would only acknowledge Xu Tian. Lu Chen's hand shot forward again, seizing her throat and forcing her into another struggle. Calmly, he told her not to rush and observed that from her reaction, she still did not know the truth. Gasping for breath, Lu Ruyan demanded to know what truth he was referring to. Far away in the upper realm, Xu Tian sat peacefully near a beautiful waterfall, its mist rising into the air. A young woman flew toward him and addressed him as her master. Bowing respectfully, she informed him that in the lower realm his girlfriend Lu Ruyan was in trouble. Xu Tian's calm demeanor vanished. He questioned who would dare disturb Lu Ruyan. Activating his powers, he projected his awareness downward and witnessed Lu Chen standing with her. His face darkened with rage as he realized that Lu Chen was still alive. With a sharp motion, Xu Tian raised his sword. Yellow energy surged outward as a gateway began to open before him. Frustration was evident in his expression as he remarked that Lu Chen was like a lingering ghost that refused to disappear. He burned with anger that Lu Chen had dared to lay hands on his woman, and coldly concluded that Lu Chen had not suffered miserably enough before. Just as he prepared to step through, the young woman beside him reminded him that as an upper immortal, it was impossible for him to descend to the lower realm. Grinding his teeth, Xu Tian ordered her to dispatch female cultivators to the lower realm to rescue Lu Ruyan. She nodded and quickly departed, leaving Xu Tian standing there, repeating Lu Chen's name with simmering fury. Back at the Liu family bathhouse, several female cultivators burst through the wooden door. They lunged toward Lu Chen, demanding that he release Liu Ruyan and denouncing him as a pervert. Lu Chen merely waved his hand. With a single, effortless motion, he sent the four women flying backward. Without physically touching them, he unleashed his power, slicing their skin and tearing their clothes as if invisible blades had struck them. Liu Ruyan stared in shock. She realized that even cultivators at the Cup King realm had been defeated in an instant. Without hesitation, Lu Chen leapt through the top window of the house, carrying Liu Ruyan in his arms. He moved swiftly, putting distance between them and the bathhouse. As they fled, he looked directly into her eyes and told her to come with him, promising that he would reveal Xu Tian's true face. Both of them arrived at a quiet bamboo forest, where tall green stalks swayed gently in the wind. Liu Ruyan stood facing Lu Chen and demanded to know what he intended to do next. Lu Chen raised his hand toward her and stated that he was going to cure her illness. A familiar flower formed in his palm, the Desire Sin flower. Holding it before her, he explained that Xu Tian had once given it to her as a miraculous cure for her heart condition. However, he revealed that in truth it was a poisonous flower designed to trigger the very ailment it claimed to heal. A translucent system window appeared before Lu Chen, announcing that the revenge system had detected he was subverting Liu Ryan and that the current subversion progress had reached 20%. Liu Ryan stared at the flower and firmly told him not to fabricate lies to deceive her. She insisted that the Desire Sin flower could not possibly be poisonous. Without arguing further, Lu Chen placed a finger against her forehead and activated a hidden power. He calmly remarked that seeing was believing. A strange energy began swirling around Liu Ruyan's body, and her vision shifted. Before her eyes, she saw Xu Tian. She perceived an insect hidden within the flower and began to question whether it was connected to Xu Tian's vital energy. At the same time, another system window appeared, notifying Lu Chen that the subversion progress had reached 50%. Lu Chen continued explaining that the Desire Sin flower consumed her vital energy to nourish itself. He added that the Gu worms within it fed on her strength and then transmitted that energy back to Xu Tian. The system window reappeared, showing that the progress had risen to 70%. In his palm, Lu Chen crushed the Gu worm with a firm motion. Liu Ruyan watched in shock and disbelief. He asked her whether she could see clearly now and declared that she had been nothing more than Xu Tian's furnace. Another notification appeared, indicating that the subversion progress had reached 90%. Memories flooded Liu Ryan's mind. She began to wonder whether her heart condition had truly been the result of Xu Tian's scheme. Doubt crept further as she recalled the day she had cried over her father's corpse, with Xu Tian sitting beside her. At the time, she had told him that it was not his fault and that everything had happened because of her illness. Now tears streamed down her face as she covered it with her hands. She trembled, realizing that she had obeyed Xu Tian's every word with devotion and gentleness, only to suspect that it had all been part of his vicious plan. Watching her quietly, Lu Chen asked whether she was finally realizing that the Gu worms inside her body had been making her sick. Still struggling to accept it, Liu Ryan muttered that this had to be a dream. Lu Chen turned away and began walking, remarking coldly that if she wished to run from reality, she could remain there and rot in her despair. Desperation overcame her. She turned toward him and demanded to know what else she could possibly do. Xu Tian had already ascended to the upper realm, and she questioned how she could ever hope to take revenge. Lu Chen glanced at her and stated that he had his own method of dealing with Xu Tian. As he continued walking, Li Ruyan hurried forward and grabbed his arm, asking him to explain how he intended to achieve revenge. Composing herself, she adopted a deliberate, alluring posture and, with a determined gaze, told him that she would agree to become his personal maid. A faint smile appeared on Lu Chen's face as he asked whether she understood what being a personal maid would entail. At that moment, the system window appeared once more before him, announcing that the revenge system's subversion progress had reached 100%. It further declared that a reward had been unlocked, the Great Ascension technique to repair a damaged spiritual root, and that the reward would be issued shortly. Lu Ruyan responded that she understood what was required of a personal maid. Lu Chen, still smiling, asked whether it truly did not matter even out here in the open bamboo grove. He stepped closer and drew her into his arms with a gentler hold. She lowered her gaze and assured him that whatever he asked of her, she would obey her master. Under the quiet rustling of bamboo leaves, Lu Ruyan began to comply with Lu Chen's wishes. High above them, a figure moved silently through the air. An old man, one of Xu Tian's subordinates, searched the area with a sword in hand. His eyes were sharp with killing intent as he muttered that he would personally execute Lu Chen. While scanning the grove, he communicated with Xu Tian and inquired what should be done about Liu Ruyan now that she had aligned herself with Lu Chen. Xu Tian, enraged beyond restraint, ordered him to kill the adulterous pair together. Below, Lu Chen and Liu Ruyan lay resting on the grass. Lu Ruyan had placed her head against his chest. Lu Chen told her that now that she had become his personal maid, he would not treat her poorly. She looked up at him and warned that opposing Xu Tian was extremely dangerous, adding that the Lu family could be dragged into the coming storm. Lu Chen replied calmly that he was the only remaining member of the Lu family. The others had either died or submitted to Xu Tian. A realization dawned on Liu Ruyan that Lu Chen's strength now surpassed Xu Tian's former level. At that moment, Lu Chen felt changes within his body. His cultivation began to rise steadily, and the damage to his spiritual roots started repairing itself. Sensing the transformation, he stood up and examined his hands. He remarked that it was indeed worthy of the dual cultivation sacred physique that Xu Tian had once coveted. Lu Ruyan's body possessed a pure aura capable of strengthening spiritual roots, and the energy he had expended earlier had been fully restored. Lu Ruyan then reminded him that since she had chosen to follow him, he must take responsibility for her. Clenching his fist, Lu Chen stated that if his spiritual roots had remained intact from the beginning, he would have been able to step directly into the Great Ascension stage. A translucent window appeared before him, reminding the host not to forget that the reward for subverting Lu Ruyan included repairing his spiritual root and restoring his cultivation. Suddenly, Lu Chen's expression sharpened as he sensed an approaching presence. Both he and Lu Ruyan turned around. She began to ask what it was when an attack struck toward her from nowhere. Lu Chen reacted instantly and blocked it. The attacker descended from the sky. It was the old man acting under Xu Tian's orders. He looked down at them with disdain and remarked that committing such indecent acts within a bamboo grove was shameless. Pointing his sword toward them, the old man unleashed his cultivation aura and proclaimed that he would act as the will of heaven to eliminate the adulterous pair. Lu Chen looked up at him calmly and replied that it was hardly the will of heaven, but merely Xu Tian's dirty work. He questioned why someone with such cultivation would willingly act as Xu Tian's dog. Enraged, the old man shouted that Lu Chen stood on the brink of death yet still dared to mock him. He activated his ultimate technique. Dozens of swords manifested around him, revolving like a blazing sun and responding to his command. With a furious roar, he declared that Lu Chen should watch as he was sliced into 1,000 pieces. At a signal from his hand, the swords shot forward in unison. Lu Chen stood firmly in front of Liu Ruyan, unmoving. The swords closed in rapidly as he fixed his gaze upon them, his eyes calm and unyielding. The swords streaked toward Lu Chen in a blazing arc. He remained still, feet planted firmly against the earth, his posture steady as the blades closed in. At the final moment, he clenched his fist and drew it back, calmly questioning whether that was all his opponent could offer. With precise movements born of martial discipline, he deflected the incoming blades, redirecting their force without retreating a single step. He declared that there was no possibility of him losing. The old man's eyes widened in disbelief. He muttered that Lu Chen was nothing more than a mere martial artist. Anger quickly overtook his surprise. As a great ascension cultivator, he found Lu Chen's composure intolerably arrogant. Releasing the full pressure of his cultivation, the old man unleashed a crushing wave of immortal ki. The invisible force pressed down on both Lu Chen and Liu Ruyan, forcing them to their knees. The ground beneath them cracked under the weight. Struggling to rise, Liu Ruyan muttered through clenched teeth that a high-level cultivator's immortal ki barrier could suppress the vital energy within a martial artist's body. The old man laughed coldly and proclaimed that martial artists without spiritual roots were worthless and deserved to be trampled beneath true cultivators. Without hesitation, he launched another attack toward Lu Chen, who was still straining against the oppressive force. Liu Ruyan attempted to move to his side, but the pressure left her unable to stand. Driven to desperation, Chen shouted inwardly, demanding to know whether his system reward had arrived yet. A translucent window materialized before him, announcing that his cheat had arrived. Above him, the Blood Valkyrie appeared once more, holding a blazing sphere of light in her hand. It was the promised reward. Another notification followed, declaring that the host had successfully subverted Ryan, reshaped his spiritual root, and restored his cultivation. It confirmed that his peak strength had been regained. A radiant yellow energy burst forth from Chen's body. He felt the familiar power returning to him, stronger and purer than before. A faint smile touched his lips as he remarked that the long-lost feeling had finally come back. A final system window appeared, announcing his breakthrough into the middle stage of the Great Ascension realm. In an instant, Chen rose to his feet. With a casual motion of his bare hand, he deflected the deadly strike that had been aimed at him. The old man stared in shock, unable to comprehend what he was witnessing. Activating his cultivation at the tip of his finger, Chen calmly questioned who had decided that walking the path of a martial artist excluded him from also being a cultivator. With a subtle gesture, he seized control of the swords that had once obeyed the old man. The blades trembled midair before turning sharply against their original master. The old man's disbelief deepened, as he had never encountered such an ability. Chen regarded him coldly and declared that Xu Tian's lapdogs should go to hell. At his command, the swords pierced through the old man's body. Blood scattered through the air before the lifeless corpse fell heavily to the ground. Chen remained standing, unwavering. Ryan, still kneeling, stared at the scene in stunned silence. As she looked at him, a new thought formed in her mind that with such strength, perhaps following him truly offered a chance at revenge against Xu Tian. She rose slowly and expressed her astonishment that he had reached the Great Ascension realm, admitting she had been unable to sense such power from his aura earlier. She further observed that even Xu Tian's sword spirit, Mirror Heart, could not seize another's spiritual power and convert it into swords. She then asked who he truly was. Before Chen could respond, several system windows appeared, announcing a new mission to seize the revenge target Xu Tian's sword spirit. It stated that upon success, he would receive a sword spirit rename card, enabling him to steal sword spirits contracted by others. Chen considered the task with interest. He recalled that Xu Tian's sword was a calamity-grade divine weapon. If he could claim it for himself, the balance would shift further. Stepping forward, he instructed Ryan to take him to Xu Tian's sword spirit. She nodded in agreement, and together they departed through the bamboo grove. Elsewhere, on a beautiful mountain outside a quiet residence, a young woman practiced her sword technique. After completing a sequence, she paused and released a slow breath. A strange unease crept over her. Looking around, she wondered why she was suddenly overcome with a foreboding feeling. Both Ryan and Chen reached the checkpoint at the base of the mountain, where a committee monitored the flow of visitors according to strict rules and quotas. Many others were entering alongside them, and Chen noted how crowded the place was. Ryan pointed ahead and reminded him that daily slots to ascend the mountain were allocated by priority and that they needed to hurry. They approached the entry and began climbing the stone stairs when a man holding a registration board blocked their way. Ryan passed him and turned back, noting that they had made it in time. As Chen stepped forward, the man stopped him, announcing that the quota for today had already been filled and insisting he go back. Chen frowned and asked whether there were not still 2 spots remaining. The man explained that the sect master had reserved them for young Master Chen from South City and advised him to be smart, warning that forcing his way in would only offend the young master to no benefit. Chen's expression darkened with anger. Placing his hand firmly on the man's shoulder, he pushed him aside and said that he did not care who young Master Chen was. He questioned whether the man was not afraid of offending him first. Immediately, all the guards at the entry pointed their swords toward Chen and demanded to know how he dared force his way into Sword Spirit Mountain. Chen activated his cultivation, a blue aura swirling around him, and asked what they could possibly do about it. He readied himself for battle, anger burning in his expression. Ryan watched silently, thinking that even the head of Sword Spirit Mountain would be no match for him. Chen raised his voice and shouted the word, "Scram." Blue waves of energy erupted from his mouth, crashing into the guards. The force shattered their weapons into fragments and emitted a sound so unbearable that some staggered, one guard even crying at the destruction of a newly acquired sword. Suddenly, the sect master arrived, floating above the entry while standing on a sword. He was an old man in a flowing purple cloak and demanded to know who dared act so recklessly on his mountain. The guards rejoiced at his appearance, believing that their safety had been restored. Chen pointed at the sect master and, watching him in the sky, asked for an explanation. He demanded to know if entry to the mountain gate could truly be bought with money. The sect master, maintaining a calm expression, admitted that it was exactly so. Sword Spirit Mountain only opened to those chosen by the sword spirits, and people with money were naturally considered chosen. Chen's smile turned cold and evil as he asked whether the famous child of destiny, Xu Tian, who could bypass the daily entry limit, had simply paid for access. The sect master descended closer to the ground, remaining silent for a moment. Then he revealed that Xu Tian's wealth had allowed him to enter Sword Spirit Mountain and meet their strongest sword spirit, Mirror Heart. That, he explained, was why those with money were naturally chosen. Chen ground his teeth in rage, yelling that this had been his family's property. Filled with fury, he activated his cultivation, a surge of energy spiraling around him. In the next instant, he burst forward at full speed, vanishing from sight. Moments later, he appeared directly before the sect master. Closing the distance with lethal intent, he demanded to know since when bandits had somehow become superior. The sect master immediately activated his cultivation, summoning a sword and questioning Chen if he planned to start throwing punches merely because he disliked what had been said. In the very next instant, Chen's fist struck hard against the sect master's chest, sending him flying backward. The sword slipped from the sect master's hand as he struggled to regain balance. Chen surged forward with another punch, but the sect master raised his cultivation-imbued swords to intercept. Chen evaded them effortlessly, his movements fluid and precise. He unleashed a third strike, narrowly missing as the sect master dodged with only a slight margin. Realizing that his opponent relied on martial arts, but whose cultivation was surprisingly formidable, the sect master quickly formulated a plan. He made a sign with his fingers and activated the technique Shen, unsheath, summoning a girl behind Chen. Lu Ruyan's eyes widened in shock. She recognized that the sword spirit could take human form, and with attacks coming from both sides, the situation had suddenly become perilous. She leapt toward Chen, warning him to watch out. The newly appeared girl raised her sword to strike at Chen's head, but he dodged with swift precision. Observing her carefully, he realized she was a sword spirit bound to the sect master. In that moment, he resolved to take control of the sword spirit for his own practice. With a surge of flaming cultivation, Chen placed his hand on the sword spirit's neck, directing her toward the sect master. The sect master's eyes widened in disbelief. The sword spirit attempted to strike him, but he dodged nimbly. Sweat formed on his brow as he considered the sudden shift in control. Now under Chen's command, the sword spirit held her blade against the sect master's neck. Chen calmly asked if he still wished to continue the fight. Realizing he had no advantage, the sect master raised his hands in surrender. Chen and Lu Ruyan accompanied him to the sect master's temple. There, they sat as the sect master bowed his head before them, while the sword spirit, standing silently behind, remained under Chen's command. With a composed smile, the sect master addressed Chen, stating that any request would be granted if it was within reason. Then, with a respectful tone, he requested the return of Chen, explaining that without her he could not maintain his position as sect master. It became clear that the girl's name was Chen. Chen replied that once he obtained a stronger sword spirit, he would naturally release this one. The sect master promised that he would immediately search for any sword spirit that Chen desired. Chen then specified that the sword spirit he sought was the strongest of all. The sect master, intrigued, asked for the name. Chen answered simply, Mirror Heart. Sweat poured down the sect master's face as he admitted that obtaining Mirror Heart, the sword spirit of the Child of Destiny, Xu Tian, seemed nearly impossible. His voice trembled with fear as he confessed his concerns. Chen rose from the chair, his expression cold and unwavering, stating that if the task proved difficult, he would not trouble the sect master again. Placing a hand gently on Shen's face, he declared that he would take her to the mountain himself. The sect master's face glistened with tension and sweat, the weight of his position pressing on him. He realized that as the Sword Spirit Mountain's leader, losing a sword spirit would jeopardize his authority. Chen, her face slightly flushed, expressed gratitude to Chen for his favor, while Lu Ruyan observed the scene, her expression tinged with visible jealousy. With his head bowed low, the sect master extended a hand holding a green key toward Chen, explaining that it would lead directly to Mirror Heart's location. He begged Chen not to take Shansen away, the desperation clear in his voice. Chen paused for a moment, considering the key silently before moving forward. Meanwhile, atop Sword Spirit Mountain, Mirror Heart communicated with her master, Xu Tian, through a mirror she held. She asked him whether they were truly going to kill Lu Ruyan. Xu Tian, smiling, informed her that Liu Ruyan had already been subverted by Chen's sorcery, her life made far worse than death itself. He instructed Mirror Heart to free Liu Ruyan from her suffering. Outside the peak, Lu Ruyan, Chen, and Chen ascended the stairs toward Mirror Heart's location. Upon reaching a gated platform, Chen inserted the green key into its slot, causing it to glow brightly. He warned Chen and Liu Ruyan to remain back, no matter what they might hear, before stepping forward alone into the fog. Liu Ruyan watched him go, her mind racing. She thought about how long it had been since she had seen Mirror Heart, and wondered if Chen could prevail should the sword spirit's cultivation have improved. Chen advanced steadily toward the temple. Inside, Mirror Heart awaited, her mirror in hand. She turned to face him and spoke in a tone that struck him as insolent. Chen's red aura flared violently around him, his anger evident. Mirror Heart summoned her weapon, and purple energy swirled through the air as she launched an attack. Chen met it with his bare arms, blocking effortlessly. A slight smile crossed his face as he admired the power of the strongest sword spirit, acknowledging that it lived up to its fearsome reputation. In the next instant, Mirror Heart attempted a decisive strike from behind, aiming her sword to pierce through Lu Chen's back and chest. Yet, she froze, realizing something amiss. Lu Chen turned his head calmly and stated that he did not think so, proving that he was far from defeated. Outside the temple, Qin Xin sank to her knees, pressing her hand to her head, confusion and pain etched across her face. What happened to me? She asked Liu Ruyan, her voice trembling. Her eyes, still hazy from the residual effects of battle and sorcery, widened in alarm. Who are you, and why are you here at the peak of Spirit Control Mountain? Liu Ruyan's mind raced. She could sense that she had recovered, but where was Lu Chen's power? Could he be dead? Meanwhile, inside the temple, Mirror Heart still held her sword embedded in Lu Chen's chest. Yet he stood perfectly still, unharmed, his expression calm. Lu Chen's thoughts were sharp and deliberate, worthy of being the strongest sword spirit. I cannot let my guard down with her. Good thing the spirit control secret technique is still in effect. Mirror Heart's mind churned in confusion. Why isn't he dying? She wondered, tightening her grip on the sword. Her eyes blazed with fury as she threatened him. Release the sorcery from Liu Ruyan or I will kill you, she hissed, her voice trembling with suppressed power. I will make you suffer a fate worse than death, Lu Chen merely smirked, tilting his head. Sorcery? He asked, his eyes locking on hers. Did Xu Tian tell you that? Mirror Heart, frustrated by his calm defiance, pushed the sword deeper. Who gave you permission to ask questions? She snapped, her violet aura flaring violently around her. Indeed, Lu Chen said, a slight smile tugging at his lips. My Lu family's spirit control secret technique truly does work. Kill me if you can, but if you do, the sorcery on Liu Ruyan will vanish. Provided you are actually able to do it, Mirror Heart screamed, fury and disbelief in her voice. If you wish to die, I will grant it. But as she tried to strike again, her sword slipped from her hands, and her limbs began to tremble uncontrollably. Confusion and disbelief clouded her mind. Why can't I deliver a killing blow? Lu Chen stepped closer, unwavering. The heritage of my Lu family encompasses body tempering through ironwork, and the mastery of secret techniques to enslave sword spirits, he explained calmly. Xu Tian coveted a powerful sword spirit like you, and he used our secret technique against you before you reached your true strength. He infiltrated my family and brought annihilation upon us. That was the calamity of my Lu family. Mirror Heart sank to her knees, overwhelmed and speechless. The weight of the revelation crushed her. Lu Chen's voice softened slightly, though his aura remained formidable. Originally, a sword spirit as powerful as you would have been impossible to influence, but Xu Tian's machinations bound you before your true strength could awaken. Still kneeling, Mirror Heart could not find words. Lu Chen placed a hand gently on her forehead. I suppose this is Xu Tian's karmic retribution. He stepped back, lifting the mirror through which Mirror Heart had been communicating with Xu Tian. His gaze hardened as he spoke, his voice resolute and echoing through the temple. Your sword spirit is strong, Xu Tian, but now it belongs to me. Outside, Liu Ruyan and Chen Shen watched in awe and disbelief as Lu Chen's presence radiated unstoppable power. Back in the upper realm, Xu Tian's face darkened with visible frustration. He muttered Lu Chen's name, disbelief and anger mingling in his tone. The tides of fate were shifting, and for the first time, Xu Tian realized that Lu Chen was no ordinary opponent. He was a force that could turn the tables on even the strongest sword spirits and the most meticulously laid plans.